Hi, Chuck Huber here for the State of YouTube channel. Today I'd like to show you how to fit a Probit regression model that includes both a categorical and a continuous covariate. I'm going to be using data from the National Longitudinal Study of Women from 1988, and you can download these data by typing WebUse NLSW88. Here I've described the variables that I'm interested in. The variable union is an indicator for whether an employee was a member of a union. The variable South is an indicator for whether a person lives in the South of the United States. And grade is a continuous variable for the current grade completed by an employee. Below this, I've summarized these variables, and I can see that union and South are both indicator variables because they have a min and max of 1. And grade is a continuous variable that ranges between 0 and 18. So to fit a Probit regression model, I'm going to select Statistics, and then go to Binary Outcomes, and then select Probit regression. I'm going to move the dialog box up here to the top right. In the Model tab, I can first select my dependent variable, which is union. And then for my independent variables, I'm going to use this little 3-dot box here to add variables to the model. The first variable that I want to add to the model is South, right here. And South is a categorical variable, so I'm going to add that to the variable list. And next I want to add the variable grade, which is a continuous variable. So because it's continuous, I need to check this little box underneath C, and that will tell Stata that grade is a continuous variable. I don't need to do anything with time operators or base. So I can click Add to var list. So now I've added grade to my var list. And next I'd like to add an interaction term between the two. So I'm going to select interaction two-way, and now I can create an interaction term for these two variables. So I'm going to leave grade selected, and it's continuous, so I'll leave the box checked underneath C. And then I also need to select South. South is a categorical variable, so I don't check the box next to C. And then I'm going to click Add to var lists. So then I'll click OK. And now I can see my independent variables in this box here at the top, and I'm going to click Submit. Okay, so I'm going to move my dialog box over so I can take a look at my output. The dialog box is issued the command Probit. Probit is followed by the dependent variable union, and then I have my covariates. First up is my categorical covariate South. And notice that there is an I dot in front of South, and that tells Stata that South is an indicator variable, or it's a categorical variable. And then grade is next, and grade does not have an I dot, so Stata knows that it's continuous. Now in the interaction term, we have a C dot in front of grade. C dot tells Stata in the interaction term that grade is a continuous variable, and South, for whatever reason, does not have the I dot in front of it, but Stata knows that South is a categorical variable. The hashtag or pound sign or sharp, whatever you want to call that character in the middle, asks Stata to create an interaction term for those two variables for us. Now before we look at the output, I want to show you a popular option that's sometimes used with Probit. I'm going to click on the SE Robust tab and select Robust. And what this will do, here I'll click OK, this will add the option to the end of the command VCE Robust, which requests robust standard errors. And if I look at the a table of coefficients at the bottom, it tells us that Stata has calculated robust standard errors for us. Beneath the command, we can see the iteration history, as well as the number of observations. We see a Wald chi-square and a p-value, as well as a pseudo r-squared. And then below that, we see our table of coefficients. So at the top, the first coefficient is our coefficient for South. Next we have grade, which is continuous, and then we see our interaction term here between South and grade. So because these are Probit coefficients, they're a little tricky to interpret without a transformation. So I'm going to show you how to use the margins and marginsplot commands to make the interpretation of these coefficients really easy. So let's go to Statistics and scroll down to Post Estimation. And this will open the Post Estimation selector. And I'm going to click the plus next to Marginal Analysis. And then I'm going to select Marginal Means and Marginal Effects Fundamental Analyses. Then I'm going to click Launch. and this will open the margins dialog box. I'm going to close the selector behind it there. So in the margins dialog box at the top of the main tab, the first thing I'm going to select is south, which is my indicator variable. I don't need to do anything else here in this section. I'm just going to select south and leave it alone. The next thing I want to do is check this box next to interaction analysis with another covariate, because remember we included an interaction term in our model. And that other interaction term, the interaction term includes the continuous variable grade. And because grade is continuous, I need to specify values to compute estimates at. And so what I'd like to do is calculate predicted probabilities from grade 0 to grade 18 in intervals of 3. So by doing that, I'm going to type 0, open paren, 3, close paren, 18. So I'm going to click Submit. And let's move this dialog box over. And the dialog box has issued the command margins, followed by our categorical variable south, and then we have a comma and an at option here. And the at option, inside of that, we've specified that grade is equal to 0 through 18 in increments of 3. And if here in the middle we see a series of ats, 1.at, 2.at, and so forth. If I look at my output table, what this is showing me is at, and then I have my little hashtag here, south. So these two numbers tell me what each of these probabilities is calculated at. So at 7, for instance, refers to at grade equals 18. So this bottom row, or bottom two rows, shows me that at grade equals 18 and south equal to 0. So someone who's completed grade 18 who does not live in the south, their predicted probability of union membership is about 0.4. The bottom row here shows me that at 7, or at grade equal to 18, for a person who lives in the south, their predicted probability is about 0.2. And if I'd like to graph those predicted probabilities, I can come back to the dialog box and check this box next to Draw Profile Plot of the results. When I click OK, Stata will draw a profile plot of those predicted probabilities. So here in the graph, the horizontal axis is current grade completed, ranging from 0 to 18 in increments of 3. The vertical axis is the predicted probability of union membership. And then I have two lines. The red line is for people who do live in the south. The blue line is for people who do not live in the south. So we can see here that for people who live in the south, the predicted probability is increasing a little bit as the current grade completed is larger. The blue line shows us that for people who do not live in the south, their predicted probability of union membership increases quite a bit, or more anyway, as the current grade completed increases. So that's one of the nice things about including an interaction term, is that these lines aren't forced to be parallel. We can see the predicted probability changing for the two groups, or over current grade completed for the two groups. So that's how we can calculate or fit a Probit regression model, including both a categorical and a continuous covariate. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for stopping by.